Today we're going to learn vectors. So to learn vectors, I have to give you a vector. So let's say the first vector, you'll have a multiple of them. Let's say the first vector is v equal 3i plus 4j. And the second vector, I'll call it w, is equal to 6i minus 7j. Okay, they can give you more than one vector if they want to. I'm just going to start you off with two. Next, they can ask you a multitude of questions about these vectors. Like, for example, what is the vector v plus w? Well, you know what the vector v is. The vector v is 3i plus 4j. And you're adding that to the vector w, which is 6i minus 7j. So, all you do is you simply add up the like terms, which is 3i and 6i, and that gives you 9i. And you add up the 4i minus 7j, that gives you a negative 3j. So the vector v plus w is actually 9i minus 3j. Okay, what about the vector v minus w? It's going to be a little different, simply because the minus sign is going to have to distribute through the whole right side of w. So it's going to be a 3i plus 4j. And anything that the minus is in front of, you have to do a parenthesis. So minus parenthesis 6i minus 7j. And so before you can do anything, you have to distribute that negative through the second parenthesis. So we still have our 3i plus 4j. But now, when we distribute the negative, we're going to have a negative 6i. And it's going to be a positive 7j. So, when we add our like terms up, we got a 3i minus 6i. That's going to give us a negative 3i. And then we have a 4j plus 7j, which is going to give us a positive 11j. So, the vector v minus w comes out to negative 3i minus 11j. Okay, another question. If you see two bars around a vector, like you got two bars around the vector v, that stands for the magnitude of the vector. And let me give you the formula. You know what the vector v is 3i plus 4j. So if you want the magnitude, that's pretty much asking how long is the vector. Then what are you going to do? You're going to take the number that's attached to I, and you're going to square it, and you're going to add it to, it's always adding, no matter if it's a negative 4j, it's going to be added to the number that's attached to j, and that number is squared also. You're not using the I and the j at all. You're just using the number that's associated with those. And then you're going to take the square root of it. So what you're going to end up having is you're going to have the square root of 9 plus 16 here. And the square root of 9 plus 16 is equal to the square root of 25. Which comes out to 5. So the magnitude of the vector v is 5. And if we wanted the magnitude of the vector v plus w, if we put double bars around that, then basically after we calculated what v plus w is, which is 9i minus 3j, then the magnitude of that, so if you put double bars around that, there you want to know the magnitude of that one, then you have to do the same calculation. So it's going to be the square root of 81, because that's what 9 squared is, plus 9. Because when you square negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. So 81 plus 9, which comes out to the square root of 90. So the magnitude of v plus w is equal to the square root of 90. The reason why I wouldn't go any further with this is because when you take the square root of 90, you're not going to get a nice whole number out. You're going to get a decimal. So in that case, you can either simplify the square root, which we did earlier, or you can just leave it as square root of 90. Okay, what if they gave us, okay, calculate 3v minus 4w. So, the calculation of 3v minus 4w is, you know what the vector v is, so it's going to be 3 times whatever the vector v is, which is 3i plus 4j, and minus 4 times whatever the vector w is, which is 4 times 6i minus 7j. So, first thing you have to do is you have to bunny hop. So you have to bunny hop the 3 through, and then you're going to have to bunny hop the negative 4 through. When you bunny hop the 3 through, you're going to get a 9i plus 12j. Okay, and when you bunny hop the negative 4 through, you're going to get a minus 24i plus, you got plus because you're multiplying negative times negative, and that's going to give you positive, plus 28j. Okay, and once you get to that point, you're just simply adding up the like terms. So you got a 9i, and then you have a negative 24i. So you got a 9i, and then you got a negative 24i. That's going to give you a negative 15i. Okay, and then when you look at the j's, you got a 12j, it's positive, and then you also have a 28j that's positive. So they're both positive, so that means you're going to be adding 12 plus 28, which is going to give you a 40j. So when you calculate 3v minus 4w, you come out with a negative 15i plus 40. Okay, the last thing I wanted to tell you is about dot product. Dot product is when you multiply two vectors. So if you're multiplying v times w, let me show you how to do the dot product. The vector v is going to give you a 3i plus 4j. Okay, and then you're multiplying that times the vector w, which is going to give you 6i minus 7j. So when you multiply that, it's not going to be the typical bunny hop that we usually do, or the double distribute. What you do is you take the two numbers that are in front of I, the 3 and the 6. You take those two numbers and you multiply them together. That's going to give you 18. You don't write the I down, you just write the 18. And then you take the two numbers that are in front of J, which is 4 times negative 27, 4 times negative 7, and that's going to give you a negative 28. And you don't write the J. So, again, you take the two numbers that are in front of I, that are attached to I, you multiply them together, negative or positive, whatever it is, you're going to write that number down, but you're not going to write I or J. You're leaving the I and J off when you do the dot product. Then you take the two numbers that are in front of J, which is 4 and negative 7, you multiply them together, and that gets you a negative 28. You don't write the J down, you just write negative 28. And once you get your two numbers, 18 minus 28, you just do the math with that, that's going to give you a negative 10. So the dot product with V and W, V times W comes out to negative 10. And that's how you do the dot product.